Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Hey, Coach, great to see you.
Well, Yvette Girouard is certainly one of our favorites. She is, without a doubt, one of the best college softball coaches in the history of the game. She's in multiple Hall of Fames. She, not to make you feel old, Coach, she went into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame 20 years ago, 2005.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
That's a compliment to you.
Yeah, I guess.
Thanks for coming down. Great to see you. Appreciate it.
Jacques, we go back a long ways.
We go, no doubt.
I know when you started, I used to watch you on Sunday afternoons on the Acadiana Open Channel.
Acadia AOC. Myself and Taylor Begnaud. He wised up. He went to the oil field. He's making... I'm doing fine. But
you followed your passion.
I did follow my passion. I knew about the great Yvette Girouard growing up, and then I went to USL. And you were the coach, of course, and by that time you had it up and running. It was motoring along there in the 90s, but humble beginnings, and that's one of the things I really wanted to chat with you about today. I want to hear about the building of this program. You know, you and Skip kind of started around the same time.
We did, and I kind of copied everything Skip did. In fact, one day I kind of got a little bit afraid, scared. I had a phone call from Skip Bertman. I was like, I wonder if he's going to fuss at me because I've been stealing and copying everything he does, the rope, everything. And he was calling me about something else, wanting the softball had finally gotten into the Olympics, and he was going to hold a softball clinic along with his baseball, and he wanted to know why those softball players were asking for so much money to come and be clinicians. And I said, Skip, there is no pro softball for them. This is the only way they can make money. Oh, you could probably do that.
Imitation. I get it. Okay,
yep,
I see.
That's it. You could do the imitation better.
Well, he's like Bill Clinton. Everyone's got a impersonation of Skip.
That's so true. That's so true.
I didn't see any softball over the years, see that. But you started, okay, so you go to high school at Como, Ove Como.
Ove Como High.
You're playing volleyball. There's no softball?
You know, I'm a pre-Title IX baby. So growing up, nothing in Broussard, my little town of Broussard, girls didn't play anything. And, you know, God gave me some athletic genes. My dad was a huge baseball man. He had played in that traveling baseball. He wasn't in the Tesh League, I think, and it wasn't the Evangeline League. It was something like that, if you know about the backgrounds of that. But he grew up playing baseball, and he was very athletic, basketball, everything. And every summer we went to Houston to watch the Stros so we could go to Major League Baseball games. And I would sit and watch baseball with him on Saturdays with Dizzy Dean and Pee Wee Reese, you know, and all that. So I grew up loving baseball. And, I mean, we played morning to night across the street in his field, and when it came to time to go play t-ball and all that stuff, you know, all the little boys were like, well, where's Yvette? And they said, well, girls can't play. Well, she's the best one in the neighborhood. Why can't she play? So I was the bat girl, and then I ended up, I was great friends with my cousin, my first cousin, Steve. And so he was a pitcher, and I kind of coached him. I don't know why. All of a sudden I started being a coach, and you know, I'd say, you're pitching today. You need to take a nap. Stuff like that. So anyway, I grew up at the field, and like the bat girl, never could play or anything. And then when I got to Como, the only sport that was offered was volleyball. So, of course, I wanted to play. And I played 4 years at Como, and then I got to USL, and I walked on. Again, no scholarships. So, you know, we put the gas in the car, we used our own vehicles, we paid our own way just to represent our school and play.
And where did you play? You made road trips to like Lamar and Beaumont?
Yeah, we went to Houston. A lot of Texas trips, you know, and I mean, I remember playing against the great, you won't know this name, but Flo Hyman. She was the all-time great volleyball player at Houston, played in the Olympics and everything else. But, yeah, we did all that, you know.
And real quick, your story sounds like Kim Mulkey's, right? She played baseball and couldn't.
But she got to play.
Oh, yeah.
And she played basketball because they had it.
Right.
We didn't have it.
It's incredible. The sport did not exist
Did not exist. And so when I was 18, my cousin said, let's go play softball at Girouard Park in the league in Lafayette. And I was like, that's a beer drinking league. I'm so competitive and la, 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 la. Well, lo and behold, we went to play on a team and I loved it. And I got picked up by a really competitive team out of New Iberia. And Margaret Romero, who's a longtime coach at New Iberia Senior High in the Hall of Fame, everything, actually was an assistant coach for Sue Gunner for a while in basketball. But anyway, and we were good. We were really good. The team's name was Allan's Gems. It was Allan's is a jewelry store in New Iberia. So Allan's Gems was our nickname. But, we won state, we won regionals, we went to nationals a bunch of time. But it was all slow pitch. There was no fast pitch. No fast pitch. First time I ever saw a fast pitch game, I walked up to Beaver Park. I was in Lafayette. For your listeners, I'm talking to you like we know because we're from that Acadiana area.
Right.
But I walked up and I saw this game and I was like, what are they playing? It looks like baseball, but it's a softball, and that's pretty cool, It's all the same mechanics and everything else except, oh, my God, this pitcher's striking everybody out. So I kind of sat there and watched or whatever. So long story short, I'd played slow pitch. I graduated from college, and my first job is at Lafayette High. And the parish at that time decided they were going to start girls softball in the parish. So I had the first Lafayette High School softball team that was fast pitch. That first game, I think I tried everybody on the team as a pitcher because nobody knew how to pitch in Lafayette because it was a sport that, wasn't we weren't playing it.
You yourself said, this fast pitch, what is this?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to coach it like I think baseball is coached and like slow pitch softball. The only thing that's really different is the pitching, which was a lot different. But, lowly beginnings. I remember one pitcher threw the ball over the backstop. When we'd finally get 3 outs, everybody on the team would be behind the dugout trying to learn how to pitch. I brought the team to Baton Rouge to play in a tournament. And, oh, my God, Baton Rouge had been playing fast pitch for a long time. And, we couldn't even hardly tip the ball. So, anyway, 3 years, at Lafayette High. And then a year, I ended up a semester at Como and coached the team and decided that I kind of wanted to get out of it. I was a little disillusioned. It kind of didn't matter if you wanted to do it or if you were good at it. It didn't really matter about women's sports, and I got kind of disillusioned with it. So I went to work in the family restaurant, which is still in operation today. And
Tons. In Broussard.
That's my daddy's nickname. He was a twin, Tim and Ton. And anyway, USL then called, and I guess it was like maybe October, November, and said, we're starting softball. And
in 1980.
80. Okay. And said, we want you to come in for an interview. We want to start a softball team. Well, I can owe all of my career history, I think, to Ursula Queiser. Ursula Queiser was my athlete at Lafayette High. I taught her PE and coached her since the time she was 14. She went to USL on a volleyball scholarship. And she said, you need to hire Yvette Girouard for softball. And long story short, I went in, and they said, you're going to start to play in February. You have no equipment. You have no budget. You have no field. You have no players.
No budget, meaning not unlimited budget, meaning
like
$0.
Budget. Maybe $3,000 was it. $3,000. So I was like, do you expect me to win? And they were like, sure. So, long story short, we went to 5. It was all walk-ons. There was no scholarships. All walk-on students. But because I had played slow pitch and because a lot of those females had played slow pitch, they walked on. And we played at 5 different city parks that year because we never knew where we were going to play. The night before, I'd call the players and say, okay, we're at Girouard Park today.
And this
We're
is
at
before
Beaver
a cell
Park."
phone where I can send
Yes,
a group text
absolutely.
to 35 people.
Absolutely.
Got to call all these players.
Yep, from Tons.
Right.
And I would be scheduling games from Tons, and people would call me and say, where are you? And why am I calling a restaurant when I'm supposed to be calling a softball coach? So after 10 years of doing that and watching the Cajun program just climb and climb and climb, you know, I went in and I told my mom, I was like, you got to hire me full time. I can't keep doing both jobs. It's driving me a little crazy. And, you know, we just got better and better and better every year. And we were ranked seventh.
Hang on a second. So you're coaching, you're the head coach of the softball team of the Cajuns, and you're also working at your parents' fast food restaurant.
Yes.
Simultaneously,
Yes.
2 jobs.
I went back and forth twice a day. I'd either put time in the morning in the office, and then, you know, in the fall I would do that and coach my team in the afternoon, and or do both and go help the restaurant at lunch hour because it was so busy.
Wow.
Yeah, so so about year.
You cross promote though. Hey,
yeah.
buy a burger
No, we
and
didn't
fries.
do
Here's
that.
2 tickets to the game.
No. My mom, you know, she told me I needed to be a coach to get out of the restaurant business because I was going to scare all her customers. She said, you need to be outside where you girls, where you can boss people around. Because I'd tell people, look, you know, after they complain about 15 times about something, McDonald's is right down the road. My mom would knock on the door. Come here. You can't tell a patient.
I'm trying to imagine Yvette
customers
Girouard in
that.
1985. Ma'am, I ordered this without tomato. Well, tough. Eat it.
No, not quite. But, yeah, that was funny. She said, you need to be on the field where you can boss people around. You cannot boss my customers around.
So you get hired. Who's the AD?
Sonny Roy,
So he's the guy that hires you?
basically, but it was really, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, my goodness. You know, I'm getting old.
Oh, that's okay. But
Sherry LaBaugh,
Okay.
actually, she was the women's administrator.
so when they hire you to do this, are you getting the sense of, you know, just do this and keep your mouth shut. Don't make too much noise. Or did you feel they were supportive? They wanted it to do well. This is a nuisance on them. They've got to do it. Or what was the feeling?
I was so naive. I don't think I knew any of that.
Yeah.
You know, and the better we got and the more I pushed, you know, and more I wanted, you know, better things for the players and stuff. Yeah, kind of when we became really good, I kind of got this feeling of, you created this monster, now you support it. So
Right. Well, I mean, I would hear about the former AD at LSU years back, and the old saying with him was finish fourth. Winning is expensive, you know.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, it's not like that now.
No, it's not. Losing can be expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive when you got to send a coach away and pay him millions of dollars to do nothing. But your first year, you play 22 games, according to your Wikipedia page. you're 7-15 your first year. You told me that you basically were at the mercy of the students who were on campus.
Yep.
Open tryouts. Hey, we're having a team. We'll come see if you're any good. So there's no recruiting of this first team. It's basically the students on campus.
It's all walk-ons. In fact, we just had, it worked out perfectly. LSU had alumni weekend 2 weeks ago, and UL had their reunion this weekend. And my very first picture was there at the reunion.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're probably the closest team I am, you know, personally with, because let's think about it. I was 24 and they were 18 and 19. There's not a big age difference there. So.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, did you feel like they respected you because you were so close to their age? Did you have to earn their respect, or they just, all of you guys kind of didn't know what the heck was going on?
Well, I can say that now. I didn't know what the heck was going on, and I learned a lot with them. We did take a trip to Holland in '87. And the trip was planned with one of Kim Eisnagel, one of the first true winners in the program. Her dad had set it up. And we got to Florida, and he told me he wasn't coming on the trip. And I was like, wait, you know, I'm 26. I got to take this team. I don't know where we're going, who set all this up, what we're doing. And when we got back from that trip, I kind of thought to myself, I think I can do just about anything now. So,
Yeah.
because half of them had never flown. they were worried about, crashing over the ocean and they can't swim. And I tell them, don't worry about swimming. It won't be an issue.
Were these primarily Louisiana girls?
Oh, yeah. Primarily Louisiana girls, Acadiana area. The pitcher was from the New Orleans, St. Bernard area, but and they had played fast pitch. So she could pitch slingshot, which you don't see anymore.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so the New Orleans and the Baton Rouge kids, the second, third year, I started to come to the Baton Rouge area because they were playing fast pitch. They knew how to play the game.
Yeah. So I remember the first time I think I saw the internet was at KLFY with Mike Roebuck and Phil Aldridge interning there in like 1997, 98, and it made that funny noise that start up and what is this? Oh, this is the internet, and this is something called ESPN.com and whatnot. But so when you're getting started, we're about 15, 20 years away from that, where no one has cell phones, and if they do, they're the size of this table and they're in your car.
Bag phone.
Bag phone. So how do you know where the players are, and how do you know how to recruit? Because you can't go to YouTube, or you can't go to tigerbait.com or any of these places.
Our good friend, Mike Scarborough.
Mike Scarborough, right? I told him I was in here. I love Yvette. Oh, I love Yvette. So, but how do you know where the players are? How do you build a program?
Well, I guess through word of mouth, and you just, talk to coaches. You find out where the tournaments are every weekend, where to go scout. I started in Baton Rouge, and, you just talk to coaches, and you finally find people that'll help you. And then the next big area was Houston, Texas, where they were really playing fast pitch. And it was phenomenal. That's just 4 hours from Lafayette. So that's a good recruiting base. Kids feel like they can leave home, but yet still can get home if they need to. So that's how I built it, Baton Rouge. But you're right, no cell phones. I remember being lost in Dallas, Texas for hours.
Yeah, no GPS.
No, there's nobody to call. You stop at a store, they speak in Spanish. You don't speak Spanish. You're pointing at a map, and, And now, the coaches, like you said, the cell phones, the internet, they have it all planned out where they're going to go, because softball is just sometimes it's a nightmare recruiting in the summer. There's tournaments in Colorado in 6 different cities with 100 fields, and figure out where you're going. And anyway.
Well, you mentioned Houston real quick. That was I joked that was the Cajun vacation that you would take.
Oh, yeah.
You go to Houston.
Go to the Stros.
Go see the Stros.
Astroworld. And then go to Galveston.
What about Waterworld? You didn't go to Waterworld?
I didn't go to Waterworld.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit.
It was always Astroworld, Waterworld, make an Astros game.
And then when I was about 18 and 19, I went to Florida, and I was like, what the heck? Why were we going to Galveston in that water?
Yeah, Destin and Galveston. That's
but you're right. All of Acadiana went that way.
Yeah, oil field too. And so, okay. And early on, your mom makes the jerseys?
So the first year we had one set of uniforms that had obviously came in late. I'm hired in February, October, November, and we're playing in February. Usually you can't turn around uniform set. So I'm in the locker room, and I'm seeing that the women's basketball team is throwing away their warm-up pants and their tops and stuff, and I'm like, we could make those uniforms. So I bring all the pants to my mom. She cuts them, puts elastic in, and now we got baseball pants. And we get the jerseys, and, it's crazy numbers, 54, 55 for a softball player. Crazy numbers. And
Avery Hodge, she's wearing 82 these days.
Yeah, it's, I got that explanation that maybe in summer ball or growing up, they get these huge numbers so that when they sign with a school, nobody else has that number.
Yeah.
So
smart. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the uniforms are made at home early. And you say
no field.
You're playing at Girouard Park. You're just bouncing around.
Beaver Park. Yep.
How many people are coming to these games?
20, 25. We actually had a scoreboard that was vinyl letters, and it flipped. It hung on the backstop, and it flipped.
Wow. When is okay? So your second year, it says here, you go 28-9, 6-2 in the Southland Conference. You're playing Southland Conference back then. 85 looks like when you really start breaking through. You go 39-13. You go 12-0 in the conference. When did you look around and say, when do you start playing at, it's called Cajun Park, Lady Cajun Park? What was it called?
It was called, what was it called? We just called it Lady Cajun Park.
Yeah, when was that built?
In the 80s, we were, so we were at 5 city parks, then we were at off of Bertrand, right across from track, and then finally, it was the 3rd or 4th year. It was the dairy farm at USL. There was no Cajun Dome Boulevard.
Yeah,
there
the
was
Cajun Dome didn't open until 84, 85.
Right, yep. There was no Cajun Dome. There was no boulevard. That was a pasture out there, and it was a fence.
So the field had gotten plenty of good nutrients from the
we
cows.
Never had problems growing grass. You had problems finding the field and
Yeah.
driving to the field. I got stuck in my mama's Cadillac with a recruit and the family in it, trying to get out of the park. So
you built the park?
But the school built the park.
Okay, but I heard that you might have been out there in the early days, maybe.
Oh yeah,
cutting
I
the
was
grass
cutting the grass, weed eating, picking up trash, bringing in the implements to drag the field, my dad's truck, and all that good stuff.
When do you look around one day and say, there's 500 people here, there's 1,000 people here, we're starting to make a difference? When did you feel like you were starting?
The very first regional we had in Lafayette, we had to call the Mardi Gras Association and bring in extra bleachers in the outfield because the demand for tickets were, outstanding. And I remember standing at third base in the coach's box and kind of pinching myself and saying, oh my gosh, all these people are coming here for us. They were parking at Cajun Field. And then I think when little boys were lined up to ask for the girls' autographs, I thought, I think we've made it.
Yeah, you're breaking through.
Yeah.
Because there was kind of a novelty might be insulting, but there was something that was unique to it.
Oh, we tried to make sure that everybody wanted to come to the ball games. We had Robert Harris on the PA system that just, he could never get away with those things today. He was saying, he'd say stuff like we were sponsored by Victoria's Secrets for the girls' dainty little under things, and I'd just look up at the mic and say, can't say that. We'd have just everything you can imagine. We had the best seat in the house where you had a recliner behind home plate.
Yeah. If
you drew that ticket, you got waited on. I was stealing everything that Skip was doing also. So I was promoting the heck out of it. And I was speaking everywhere. We had a punch card system where you paid, I don't know how much, for 20 punches. So you could bring 20 people to one ball game, or you could come 20 times or stuff like that. And I would talk all over, Lafayette and say, just give us a chance one time. Just come one time. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. And nobody ever asked for their money back. And we were good,
Right.
If you build it, they will come. Well, you have to win too. And so we were winning. And we read, we were very involved in the community. We read in the schools. We did all kind of things to get people to support us because we had to have not only their butts in the stands, we needed their money because we had to raise our budget.
Yeah. And there's something, too, about once you grind through those February games, springtime in Lafayette, where there's always festivals going on.
Absolutely.
And boiled crawfish, and people are out, and there's an energy, and the sun's going down later, that you kind of all tied into that.
I had my buddies out in center field. They started the original center field club, and we had a generator, and I would bring it out to them for every home game, and they'd blend margaritas out there. And like I said, they were my buds, and at the end of the game, and they brought their own experience and environment and fun out there, and everybody was just laughing at stuff that they would say. And I mean, they would put a rubber chicken on a fishing pole and throw it out there and roll it back in. And anyway, but they'd scream at me when the lights went off. You just turned off our generator. We're not finished yet. Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, and look, growing up there, I remember, men's basketball, the old Blackham Coliseum. I never saw a game there. I wish I could have gone
Had season tickets there.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah. 7,000, 8,000 people.
8,000 people every time they played.
Yeah. I mean, I just heard how magical it was. John Brady, the former LSU basketball coach, he grew up in Crowley.
Right.
Man, that Blackened Coliseum was something, man.
It was.
I saw the pictures, and I wish I could have seen a game there.
We used to always say when Bo Lamar crossed the mid-court, he was shooting from Fatima. Fatima's across the street.
That's right. It still is.
Yep.
That's where Fatima was a high school, but that was before St. Thomas More.
In a church.
And all that. But yeah, men's basketball had their moments, and Nelson Stokely with football, they certainly had their moments, and then let's see, what am I leaving out here? In women's basketball, that was rough. They weren't
they were rough.
They weren't too good.
Men's basketball, I think, was what we were known for, really.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Jesse Evans got the job. He said, and everyone agreed, Lafayette's a basketball town in terms of like the men's sports, that we're a basketball town in Lafayette. And then baseball really was hit and miss until Robichaux took over.
Right.
Robichaux made it a consistent, strong power there. But what I'm getting at is you were the most well-known, most accomplished sport by far.
No question.
At the school.
And still, to this day, it's probably the best program the school has had. And we were, when I recruited, I'd say, you will be a Cinderella in this town. You'll go to any store or to any restaurant and they will know who you are because we got top of the sports page headlines. We were all over the news. We were all over the newspapers. And that's how you got kids from California eventually, and Texas and all that, because they'd say, well, I want to go to and play where people, come to the games and appreciate you. And so, Cajun people, all they want to do is love you and feed you. and that went over big.
And they're loud.
And they're loud.
And they can create atmospheres that intimidate the opposing teams.
For years I tried to get thrown out in Lafayette, and the umpires would say, no way. I'm scared of your fans. No way. And I got to LSU, and it didn't take but a week, and I got thrown out.
You got tossed. Get out. Yeah. It's like the scene from Hoosiers, right? When Gene Hackman says, throw me out.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly. Exactly.
Trying to make a point here. So so you start rolling, and so the first World Series team is 1993. Mm-hmm. 57-7. Then you go 57-5.
And got beat at home twice on the championship Sunday by Utah. We had 6 All-Americans on that team.
So the 57-5 team doesn't go to the World Series.
No.
But and this is back. There's 18 regionals. Is it 8 teams in one place?
I can't really remember.
Yeah.
It was snow. It was small. Yeah.
Okay.
When we first started, only 16 teams advanced. So you could be in the top 20 and not go anywhere.
Not get into the tournament.
Right. The tournament was so small, women's athletics.
Yeah.
It was so, small.
You're costing us money. We're not having all these teams.
16, and it was 32. Then it just kept growing.
Okay. So the first World Series, I think you told me something along the lines, you're going there and there's like beer league softball games going on around you at the
first one that I attended as a spectator.
Okay, way back.
Yeah. It was in San Jose, California. It was in one of the Pinwheel Diamond sports complexes. 3 fields were men's slow pitch. 1 field was the Women's College World Series. I could not believe
Just shoehorn this thing in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
UCLA won.
Yeah, well, some things
didn't change.
They're still pretty good. So the first time you go to the World Series, how many people from Lafayette go? This is obviously the stadium in Oklahoma City has changed a lot. It's It's like 9 or 10,000. Back then it might have been, I don't know what it was.
I don't know how many came. A lot of people lie and say they were there. No, I'm kidding. But when we walked up we were the last game of the night in opening day. And we walked up through right field fence, and it was just a sea of red. We had more fans than anybody. I know we had more fans than any other team, and it was just, I get goosebumps right now thinking about it. It was, everybody wanted to be a part of the Lady Cajun softball.
So you go 3 out of 4 years up there. You go 93, as you said, so Utah beat you in 94. And then you go again in 95 and 96.
And actually, though, one of those years, it was in Columbus, Georgia, and we really felt like we got shortchanged. That was the year the Olympics and Olympic softball was going to be in Georgia. So we were kind of like a test run.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the same atmosphere at all.
Yeah, I think the SEC tournament has gone there too in the times, and it just why are they doing that?
I don't know. I think they learned their lesson.
Yeah. So this kind of becomes, if you go 3 out of 4 years, this becomes a habit, and you're starting to build. I don't know if it's, you can be similar to LSU baseball when they start going to Omaha and the fans start taking over the bars and whatnot, but I'm sure Oklahoma City is happy to see Cajun fans up there. It's good for their business.
Absolutely. Cajun Tiger fans, they love to have a good time, and so the places just welcome them with open arms.
And you weren't just going up there and losing. You finished third in the country at one point, right?
Yep. We were there on championships. They made us, okay, you're going to make me go relive one of the major
Too many games in one day.
Yes. 3 games in one day. It's never been done before because I made sure that they changed the rule. At the Women's College World Series, we got to the field at 7 a.m. and we left at 1 a.m. the next day. 3 games because of weather and because of TV. Right. Lord knows that wouldn't fly today, thank goodness, because it was I kind of was swaying in the dugout at one time. I was so tired.
Yeah. Well, even in somewhat recent years, they had them doing double headers.
Yep.
And then they broke that up and said, okay, now we're going to do this like baseball and break it up.
I fought for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the SEC because we were still doing 2 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday, and just got to throw out that Title IX thing sometimes to your benefit.
I always mention your name because when we talk about Dee Dee Bro, we talk about Sue Gunner, and Kim Mulkey, to her credit, says I'm not part of. She says I'm about 8-9 years after that.
Right.
But I mean, she certainly had her share of battles. But she had a men's coach there in Leon Barmore. I don't know if that made it easier or not when a man is coaching. But anyway,
probably.
In that time. Yeah.
They probably get you in the door, for sure, faster.
Yeah. But the horror stories that, the 3 of you fought through, I think Pat Summitt was hired about the same age you were.
Exactly.
23 years old.
Yep.
You can just give it to this kid and, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Pat Summitt, I think it's in her book, they were playing back at LSU when Dale Brown had men's basketball, big. They used to play double headers, and the women would go first and the men would go second. And there's a story that the women's game was going long, and they told them something along the lines of, "If you don't finish here soon, you're gonna have to finish down in the dungeon, where they practice."
Oh yeah, I know the dungeon.
Get the heck out of here so the men can play.
I believe that story.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah,
I had one kind of similar, not quite. After the first year, I went in and I said, we need a field. This is ridiculous. I got to the field Monday to work on it, and the fence was down. Somebody had rode their motorcycles and tore it up, and I went in and I was like, this is ridiculous. We need a field. Well, do you know that we have to fix the boys' baseball base paths because they're uneven? I just looked at him and said, are you kidding me? You're talking about a base path. I'm talking about a field that we can go play our games on. So anyway, I'll never forget that story.
Yeah. You probably got a lot of, you haven't written a book, have you?
No.
You could.
I've been approached.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stories.
Just talk out loud, Yvette. We'll record it. We'll put it together. You don't have to type it yourself, right?
Okay, 2 funny stories I'll tell you real quick.
Okay.
Get a knock on my door at late one night, and they said, we need your dad's truck. Don't ask us why.
Who is we?
My players.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention their names. And I said, okay. It had been raining. So they delivered the truck. I noticed there's some sand and dirt in the truck. They stole sand and dirt, Boston Concrete, right off of 90, to go and fix the fields because nobody would give us any sand.
This is Lady Robin Hood going on, right?
Yes. Next story is Lady Cajun Park for years was known for its outfield red fence. No longer there now. It's matted now. It's got nice thick mats so you don't crash into it or the ball doesn't smash into the board, and in the middle of the game they got to run and go get an extra board and nail it back up, which we had extra boards behind the fence to make sure you could
Backup
fix
boards.
it. Anyway, before we got that fence, I was like, I really want a wooden outfield fence. How can we do this? And I'm not going to say the name again. He said, I can get you that. I said, okay. Well, about not even to left center field, we run out of wood. He said, well, let me go get some more. As it turned out, the lumberyard had said that we could have some boards, but I don't think they knew they were donating an entire fence. So it was basically stolen. And for years, when we kept getting beat at regionals in Lafayette, I was like, God's punishing us. We'll never get to the World Series because that outfield fence is stolen.
Well, I think that's okay.
It's gone now.
You weren't Walter White. You familiar with Breaking Bad?
Oh, yeah.
That's a little. You weren't doing that, but yeah, you deserved it. I mean, you look at what they get now,
and it's not enough.
Right. Well, we could talk about that here in a second. But 2000 is your last season.
Yes.
At UO Lafayette.
Yes.
And so when does the call come to Baton Rouge?
It actually came 3 times. When LSU was going to start the program, they brought me in for an interview. I stayed here probably 8 hours on the campus. I actually met Joe Dean a couple of times, one time in Lafayette and before I came for the initial interview. And, I just couldn't leave. We were still rocking and rolling in Lafayette. It was tempting, it's the same retirement system. I already had so many years in it because I was a teacher, and then the years piled up coaching. And, of course, they were going to pay me more money. And, of course, there would be a budget for the team. But I just couldn't say no. Second time, when Glenn Moore was...
Couldn't say yes.
I'm sorry. Couldn't say yes.
Yeah.
So, and they offered me the job, and I went home, and I was like, I just can't do it. So, second time around, they approached me again, but they gave it to Glenn Moore, who was the assistant coach.
Still coaching, still very successful.
Yes, at Baylor University.
Yep.
And the third time, they called me and said, we're not calling you again. This is it. This is the last time. We want you to be our coach. And I thought, if I'm ever going to do it, I've got to do it now. And it was, I did it the night before I came. I remember my stomach was in knots. Let's just say I stayed by the toilet all night and took the job. And 2 weeks later, I'm thinking, what in the world did I just do? I lived my whole life in Broussard, coached at my alma mater for 20 years, the baby, I used to call it my baby, and with a team that in the press conference to interview me is crying at the back of the room because Glenn Moore has left and that's their favorite coach. So I was like, ooh. Then I've made everybody in Lafayette mad at me because I came to LSU. I could have gone anywhere else but LSU.
Right. And that was the one sport over there that maybe they were superior to LSU in. They could beat them in midweek games and whatnot in baseball.
Right.
They're not playing in football. They're not playing in basketball.
Right.
But as we've documented, you've got them going to the World Series. LSU didn't even play softball until 97.
No, and that's why, I'm not going to say that. It certainly was to our advantage in Lafayette. I could recruit. There was no SEC. Oklahoma was not good at the time. Texas didn't have a team, and everybody started at once. So here's all these coaches giving out full rides, and I'm having a battle now to recruit because the landscape has changed overnight.
Yeah. Well, and okay, this is not like you going from Lamar to LSU or, I don't know, pick your mid-major out of state. I mean, I don't know if it's too strong to say LSU is the enemy.
Oh, I'd say that at the time. I'd say it was.
I think I told you a story when I was interning at TV10. You had played LSU and maybe you lost, and they were like, Jacques, you're going to go in. You go interview Yvette today. Go get the intern to jump on the grenade for us today. She's not going to be in a good mood losing to LSU, but yeah, that was animosity. don't like them. Don't root for them when they're not playing us. Don't root for them when they are playing us. And I think you said something like, I'm wearing purple. What's going on here?
Yeah. I remember when I put purple on, I was like, that's a lot of purple when I looked in the mirror, and so my mom was the best, though. She'd tell the LSU girls, look, I look good in red, so I might wear it sometimes, but don't worry about it.
Did you feel like you weren't going to win a national championship at the Cajuns, with the Cajuns, or?
Well, I certainly felt like my job could be easier at LSU. And then all my friends that were coaching would call and say, because I'd turned down a lot of jobs, not just LSU. Tennessee called when they started because the AD was from Opelousas, and so she knew about me. So, there was a handful of schools that called. Minnesota brought me in for an interview, and, I couldn't. The LSU was the only one I was going to say yes to if I was going to say yes, because I'm a Louisiana girl. I knew all about LSU. I didn't have to do any research when I got here.
Yeah.
Because who's not an LSU football fan if you like sports,
Right,
and
right.
you're born into this state. So I didn't come to LSU because I was a small town girl, and LSU just seemed just too big to me to come to school here.
Yeah.
So it's not that I hated them, but I certainly wanted to beat them when I was wearing red because it gave everybody so much pride. So
yeah. Well, Yvette likes gumbo, but she didn't like it when I used to stir the pot. So
true.
But this storyline. When Nick Saban leaves LSU, but he coaches at Miami, and then he goes to Alabama, and there was that that went on for as long. It kind of cooled a little towards the end because he had been there at Alabama so long, and LSU beat him a couple times at the end, but. You going from the Cajuns to LSU in the minds of many people is the equivalent of that in softball.
Yeah, I'd never put myself in the same sentence as Nick Saban, although we did come in together, and I
was about to say you got hired about the same time.
Yeah, and I'm so blessed in so many ways. Saban, Skip, all on the same staff. What a staff! Well, how much fun was that? But yeah, they it was not looked on fondly. It took me a long time to win people over. The very first Super Regionals to get to the World Series, guess who I have to play as a Tiger? The Cajuns, to get to the World Series and to beat the Cajuns, to get to the World Series.
In 01.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
It was, I felt like I didn't have a friend in the world. On either side of the coin.
Yeah, and you're probably you know these people because they've built your program up,
right?
And you're like, a part of you is probably saying, look, don't take this personally,
right?
It's a job, but then you're probably like, well, I understand why they're taking it personally, maybe at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
I understood, but when you go home and you're at Albertsons and home is Broussard and somebody taps you and says, "Why did you leave? Why are you a traitor?" And you're just like. You got to breathe for a second because you're a public figure, so you can't just go off on everybody, although you want to. I said, okay, let me say this to you real quickly and succinctly. 20 years in the same retirement system, and you get to retire at the 3 highest, and you quadruple your salary maybe. What would you do 1 hour down the road? Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then every time you played them, that was there.
Right.
And, there was this and look, Cajun people are sensitive, right, by nature. We get our feelings hurt when people say mean things about us. And there was this thing, I don't know, you can talk about it, you can't talk about it, about a plaque at the that got taken down. There was an Yvette Girouard plaque that was up that got taken down because she's a coach at LSU now. And
all that happened, yes.
Yeah. I remember one time, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I remember you played the Cajuns in a regional or whatever, and there was a rider from Lafayette. He sat up close for the opposing coach, and then when you came up, he went and sat in the back of the room like, I can't even be close to her, a traitor. That kind of stuff was going on.
Yeah. But
you grinded through it.
I did. We even have as aforementioned family restaurant. They flew the LSU flag the day I was hired, and somebody walked in and said, "I'll never eat here again."
Were they going to Pete's now on Johnson Street, or what were they doing?
I don't know.
Well, okay, and then so time heals all wounds.
Yes.
The field is named after you.
Unbelievable.
There now.
Unbelievable.
And that's what I always heard, too. It was like, well, when she finished coaches at LSU, then we'll kiss and make up, or then we'll, give her, because everyone obviously knew that without you, that program isn't what it is. So
I think the players changed in this whole scenario. I think some stirred the pot a whole lot more. And I think that's where, I always said it didn't have to be like this. It could have been friendly. It came from within the coaching staffs. So,
people you coached.
Yes.
Okay, so your first year at LSU, you go to the World Series.
Yes.
You have a pitcher named Brittany Sneed.
I got handed a phenomenal team. Another reason I really wanted to take the job also, I got handed a World Series team.
Yeah.
And we came out third in that World Series. So
yeah. And I remember, I think that was the first road trip I'd ever made at Channel 9. First time they ever sent me anywhere, which is a famous story here real quick. So I have a laptop editor to edit on the road, and it's about 50 pounds. And at the time, I'm trying to work out and be jacked up and whatnot. I had got something called creatine. It's that white powder.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in the same bag as the editor, and it got loose, and I got creatine all in the machine. So it had to get fixed when I got back. Got sent to the engineers to get fixed. So that happened 24 years ago, and no one here that is still here has forgotten it. But and I remember my first expense report. They gave me a check to go, and I got back, and they said, "Jacques, where's your expense report?" I'm like, "Well, y'all gave me money. I spent it." Like, well, you're supposed to save the receipts and whatnot, and turn in a report. But anyway, I remember going, and I also remember being in the lobby saying, who the heck is that girl? It was Jenny Finch, pitching for Arizona. Beautiful girl.
I was just about to say model. I believe that she's the person that really puts softball over the top and on center stage.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I wasn't much older than the players at the time. I was like 24. And I saw Arizona's walking through the lobby of the hotel,
right.
And there's this tall blonde. I'm like, who is that? And it was Jenny Finch. But, yeah, your team, Brittany Sneed, who just went to Louisiana.
Hall of Fame
not long ago. I think she pitched around 70 miles an hour at the time.
She did. Great curveball. Best curveball you'll ever see.
Real religious.
Very.
You didn't have to worry about her going out and causing trouble.
Nope.
Trina Peel.
Trina Peel was on that team.
Heck of a hitter.
Yeah, she was the SEC Player of the Year, probably her senior year, I think.
Julie Weiss from Central.
Third base.
Who was in the outfield?
D. Douglas.
Yeah.
Alicia Thomas.
Hastings.
Hastings was shortstop.
Stephanie Hastings, shortstop. Yeah. And you played Finch, right? That was that marathon game, Oklahoma. Y'all went like.
Finch played for Arizona.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Who would you play? Oklahoma. You're friends with Gasso.
Very good friends with Gasso.
Yeah.
We met at the World Series when she was still at Long Beach City College. I was there as a spectator. We started talking in the stands. We became great friends. She said, why don't you come out for a week in California and spend it with our family, and we'll take you around. We'll take you to Disney and everything else. And I flew up with crawfish and everything else. And then we remained friends. And then a couple years later, she called me one evening and she said, Yvette, they offered me the Oklahoma job. Should I take it? And I said, yes, you should take it. It's a big time university in the middle of the country with all of your connections to California and in softball, because she was coaching softball and she had played at Long Beach City College and at Long Beach. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, you're playing her there. That's 24 years ago.
Yep.
And it was a 13 inning game. You won 1-0, or
I don't remember the score.
It was
but
low scoring.
We won.
Somebody threw the ball away at first base, and you scored.
And we scored. And I actually went to lunch with Jennifer Schulke the other day. She was our catcher.
Yeah.
And there's a famous shot of Jennifer Schulke. There was no bathrooms in the dugout, and Jennifer Schulke is running down the third base line, holding her pants because she has to go to the bathroom in the portalette.
Well, Paul Maneri got sent to UCLA in 2010, and that was an eye-opening experience. Even in 2010, they had portalettes for the
same Stanford. I was in shock when they sent us there, and I was like, what?
So, yeah, you got that team, and you go again in 04 with Schmidt. And this is back when one pitcher is just throwing every single pitch. He threw like 365 pitches the whole.
She threw every pitch until I brought her out, and again, three games in one day. Again, had to play.
Yeah.
And took her out so she could get the applause. And Emily Turner came in and finished it off. But yeah, Schmidt, when we got, and was the college MVP, Women's College World Series MVP, and we came out third because she was just so dominating. But she threw 58 miles an hour, maybe 60 on her best day.
Yeah.
But the ball just moved, and she hit her targets and never got behind. And I got a phone call about a week later from a gentleman in Washington saying that I should be fired because I threw her every pitch of every game.
Well, I saw her shortly after she played, and she was no longer playing softball and married.
She's a lawyer.
A lawyer and doing quite well. I don't think she wakes up. Oh, my arm.
No, yeah, it didn't fall off or anything. She was a lawyer, and Leanne Danos was our catcher, and she's a surgeon now in California.
Wow.
Both of them smarter than their coach.
Who were some other players that I should mention from your era there at LSU?
Well, you mentioned a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, Emily Turner.
Yes.
Went into television.
She did.
And she was kind of your last All-American pitcher, maybe, or close.
I'm trying to think. Fico, but then Rachel
pitched for
Fico
Beth.
was with Beth when she got the All-American, but she played for me for 2 years.
I think I remember even around the Emily Turner time, you saying something like, these girls don't know the real Yvette Girouard, meaning like you had kind of softened up a tad by then.
I had a tad.
by that point.
I do remember flying into San Diego to recruit. I had 4 San Diego girls on the team and thinking, why would they want to come to Baton Rouge?
Right.
This is gorgeous.
No humidity.
But once again, so much to do in California. You go to a California school, they don't even know you're playing softball. There's nobody attending the games, even UCLA. So,
yeah.
They
that
love
same thing.
These big SEC schools with football and everything to do, and it's fun. You're on TV and
sure. Yeah, well, the same thing. 2010, when I went to the LSU Maneri thing, when they played UCLA in baseball, they were on like page 8 of the sports page, a little article about that big.
Exactly.
No picture.
UCLA will win the World Series, and you can't find it in the paper.
Right. Be the Lakers on the front or whatever. A few more things, because I appreciate your time. We've been here a long time. But so the old Tiger Park, that thing was thrown together. I remember you never really spoke highly of it. It was kind of a makeshift.
Well, on the interview for the first job, I thought, I don't know how. I mean, they'd been sued Title IX. They'd gone through a lawsuit. And I was like, I don't know how invested they are in this, and people love me in Lafayette, and I'm not sure the administration loves me, but our fans loves me, and because like the mound, they had this drawing they showed me. I was like, that's a baseball field,
It's a mound,
all the measurements are wrong, and so anyway, no, I was not fond of the old Tiger Park. I know that it hurt the feelings of the girls that played there, but I just thought LSU could do so much better. There was, again, no bathrooms for the spectators, for the fans. The concession stand was this metal shed. I was just appalled that, it was LSU.
Yeah.
You have to have a better front porch than this.
Yeah. Yeah. It was shoehorned. If you go watch beach volleyball, it was right there.
It's a parking lot now.
It's part tore it down, and they made the old tennis courts the beach volleyball. That was
now the balls flew out of there a whole lot better than they do at the new Tiger Park because you were all enclosed, So,
right, and you weren't next to the
this
Mississippi River and the
with
wind.
That wind and
was that just a
open.
Miscalculation building that park? Looking back on it now, would you build it differently?
Well, it should be faced like baseball. That's
Yeah.
That was kind of wrong, but they wanted it to face Skip Bertman Drive. I had no idea the wind would blow like that out there, although soccer had told us after, wait till you get out there. And we had 1 day to practice on it before we opened up because we were actually on the road when they finished it. We scheduled it that way. And I remember I was like, why can't we catch a fly ball? What's going on? Well, it was just whipping.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Macy Bergeron, a good Cajun girl from Rain. I did an interview. And Macy's, she's funny. She's just kind of got this kind of dry,
sense
dead,
of humor,
and I'm like, and we were sitting in Tiger Park. I said, well, Macy, what's it like to play here? And she, good old Tiger Park. The wind blows here, And I said, well, I guess the pitchers maybe sometimes like it more than the hitters.
It's definitely a pitcher's park. And for years, the LSU program was built on phenomenal pitching. So it kind of played to our strength, too.
Yeah. Well, I remember, didn't you win a couple games without scoring an earned run? Or getting a hit?
Yeah.
One hit or zero hit?
I think we beat Alabama one time like that. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And, big teams would come in here and that ball would just die on the track, and they would just be so frustrated because that ball should have been in the berm somewhere.
Right. Well, I go to the games now. I feel like home runs are being hit.
The game is so offensive now.
Yeah.
The bats, the balls, the strike zone, to me, is the biggest change. It's a postage stamp right now.
Yeah.
And that's why you see so many walks and why these pitchers are having so much trouble competing.
Okay.
It was a pitcher-dominated sport. They wanted offense. We got offense, and they don't need to change anything else now because no one's going to want to pitch pretty soon.
Well, I think you used to say it used to be like soccer. We score
Right.
once or twice, we're good.
Yeah.
It's over.
Absolutely.
And
that's why bunting came in and slapping came in.
Yeah. Well, the other night they go to the Cajuns. They're down 4-0, and in the past that's over with.
Oh, it's over.
And they come back and score 11 runs and win 11-4. They're losing at McNeese the other night, 2-0 in the fifth, which softball they play 7, not 9, so it's deep in the game. They come back and score 12 runs in the final 2 at bats.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different game now.
Yeah. Okay. Saban, did you ever talk to him? Did he talk to you?
Not a lot. We did use him for recruiting, and we were on that first plane flight together. We were new coaches in the SEC, so we had to go to the meeting together.
Yeah.
He had his head down. He was working the entire time. When we advanced to play for the national championship, when it came out, I remember he came out through that side elevator, towards the Lawton room. And we met up, and I was like, Coach, we're playing for the national championship. I was wild. And he was like, mm-hmm. And just walked past me, and I was like, okay, Coach.
And he'd tell you, we don't need to make this some big game. It's the next game, I
was like, yes, sir.
He hated that big game thing, man, creating anxiety and all that for his players. And then Skip, Skip is the AD.
Skip was awesome.
So he'd say, look, Jacques, I'm a coach. See,
Yep.
I know how coaches work. See, and
he was a phenomenal AD because he coached his coaches. Every year at the beginning of the year, we had our orientation, and for 3 days, for 3 mornings, he did different things each morning, which I thought was incredible. I would have liked it as a new coach because it was going through all the policies and procedures. This is where you go if this happens, blah, blah, blah. Because I was just throwing keys, and go to work. So, and he would do all his motivational stuff, and I loved him to death. He got that new facility built, but it's tough when your boss really knows your sport a lot, and he calls you and say, "Why are we throwing that curveball there?"
Oh, Yvette, listen, I like that kid, but I might need to go with the other one instead. And then when a guy wins 5 national championships in 10 years, everyone listens. That's hasn't happened since and probably never will.
I mean, I used to go to baseball conventions because I felt like I learned more there, and I would go every time he spoke. So I kind of been stalking him for years.
Yeah. Well, and Didi used his model.
Oh, yes.
Everyone used his model.
Yeah.
But these days, you probably can't ask the kid to go to the corner and hand out schedules or paint the fence or do all the things. You want me to do what? Are you kidding?
Every team I ever had used to work on the field, clean their own spot, pick up rocks. Of course, there's no rocks on those fields now, I think. But they all had a hand in taking care of the facility, which I always thought the diamond people were so different from the rest of the sports.
All right, I'm trying to keep this to 3 more things. Tony Robichaux, what was your relationship with him like? And
phenomenal.
I talked to Skip, and it's like, Tony Robichaux's not supposed to be gone before you are, right? That's not the way that's supposed to go. It's very, very tragic.
Phenomenal. He's actually the second person I went to tell when I was coming to LSU. So when they hired Tony on his interview, he and I spent like 4 hours together, and I told him why he should come to Lafayette. So we had a great relationship. Again, stole a lot of things he did too, and we had a wonderful relationship, and truly a good man gone way too soon.
Yeah. To this day, right? Is that the only time they've been in the World Series?
Yep,
When
that's
he
it.
when he took them, they beat South Carolina.
I remember I was at the park at the softball park, and they were having a parade for him down Cajun Dome Boulevard, and I ran to go high five him, and I got too close to the car, and the car ran over my foot. But I still got my hug
you're a
from
tough
him.
Cajun girl.
Yeah.
You just had another beer, right?
Yep.
Kept going. Yeah, it's funny how things work out, because I remember, look, I knew him. I was a student at USL. He knew my name, and we were cordial. And I didn't know him tremendously well, but I obviously admired him a lot. And I think it was the last time LSU played him at Zephyr. We were packing up the car to leave, and I was like, well, let's go interview Coach Robichaux. Let's go talk to him. He's still out here. And I said, Coach, can we talk to you? Oh, yeah, sure. So I interviewed him, and he got in the car, and then I guess it was a month or two later, he had the heart attack.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of funny, that I almost didn't go talk to him, and I did, and it was the last time I saw him. It's those kind of spooky things that happen that are meant to be. But, yeah, he's 58 years old.
Unbelievable. So sad. And, I don't think anybody thought that he was unhealthy.
Yeah. How well did you know Nelson Stokely?
Oh, Nelson Stokely is a personal friend. Nelson Stokely taught me how to play golf. He, we hung out together a lot outside of the athletic department. He took me on football trips. I loved him.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved him.
And his son Brandon, longtime NFLer, and married one of your players.
Lana Jimenez Stokely, yes.
Awesome. Real quick, okay, so just wrapping this up. When Pat Murphy becomes the head coach at LSU for
24 hours?
It was like a press conference at 1 on Friday. I was sitting around the pool on Sunday. Clicking my email, and I see an email that comes from LSU. Patrick Murphy, what's the word they use? Rescinds or will return to Alabama. Okay, that the first time, and I guess the last time, I've never covered a coach who's gotten a job, been introduced at a press conference in front of the players. Everyone claps. I think his quote was, "I look forward to finishing my career here at LSU." And he had Allison Habits there.
Yeah. Half of Lafayette. My family's there.
I think your quote was, you saw him afterwards, and he looked like he was going to have a heart attack.
He did. He couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Couldn't breathe. Are you asking me how the whole thing went down?
Well, I heard that they maybe went back to maybe her family in Crowley or whatnot, and they talked, and we've made a mistake. We can't do this.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. I don't know. He called me on Sunday and said, he was bombarded by telephone calls and messages, I think, from his ex-players, and same thing, probably calling him a traitor, la, la, la. And I guess he didn't feel wanted. It was an emotional hire. He never even came for an interview. It was done over the phone.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. He
didn't walk around the campus or just take this over the phone? Wow.
He kind of on my recommendation too, but I never dreamed he would be interested. I'd put up Allison's name, put up Patty Gasso's name, and I called each of them. And so anyway, he called me after they had come back from the World Series. He didn't feel appreciated. They hadn't played well, and it was an emotional decision.
Yeah.
And they offered him way more money than I was making, which they told me, and they said,
wasn't it $500,000 or something, or was it?
Oh no, it was like $250 at the time.
$250.
Because that's a while back.
Yeah.
So, but I was making in the ones, so
yeah, right.
So that was a bit, and he would have been probably the highest paid coach then.
Right, in the country.
Right.
Well, I remember Beth Torina telling me that she watched it and she said, "Oh my God, Pat Murphy's going to become the head coach at LSU," and it worked out for the best because he won a national championship the first year he goes back.
Yes.
I say first year he goes back. He stayed where he was, and then Beth goes to the World Series her first year at LSU.
Right.
So
it worked out for everybody.
So Beth goes to the World Series 4 of her first 6 years, I believe. They haven't been in recent years. They've had some bad luck. Last year was really disappointing because it was almost like they did just enough not to host after they got out to the great start. They beat the Stanford pitcher in the first game.
The best pitcher in the country.
Best pitcher in the country, and then they don't score another run the next 2 games. And it's like, oh, God. It'd been such a, I think, monkey off their back if they would have gone last year.
Well, I firmly believe that if Danica Coffey and Tori Edwards is in that lineup, they go.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal players. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite a run when she had those 2 pitchers, and I thought to myself, ooh,
Yeah.
you might be set up later because you may never land 2 All-American, first-team All-American pitchers again.
Right. And as we're sitting here, rough weekend at Texas A&M. I didn't really see any of it for different reasons, but a lot of season left. And, I mean, we've seen it in the past. We've seen them finish 7th in the SEC and finish 4th in the country.
Yep.
Because the league, I don't think anybody was high-fiving, oh, we got Oklahoma in the league now and Texas. All right.
Oh, yeah, they're all saying it's great, but, behind closed doors, they're like, oh, my God,
Yeah.
Do we have to add them also?
Yeah. And even, we're running out of time, but the current, this NIL, this transfer portal, these changes, I mean, even Gasso, who I guess could be the best to ever do it, I don't know, but even they're kind of showing some chinks in the armor, right?
Well,
dealing with this new stuff.
Exactly. And, you do lose great players. And, I mean, it happens. But you're right. Your roster could change overnight, and you don't even see it coming. So, I'm glad I had the career. I wish I had made the money these coaches make now, but I would never do their jobs today. This world, the landscape has changed way too much for people that consider themselves old school type coaches.
There has to be a happy marriage between compensating the players and still this is about the team, and this is about loyalty, and this is about...
I think team and loyalty has gone out the window for right now.
Yeah. Well, I hate to end on a bummer, but I think we've kept our guy long enough. But look forward to seeing you at the park. Of course, she's on all the broadcasts with the great Lynn Rollins as the Hall of Famer Yvette Girouard. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Jacques.
Great seeing you, and thanks for stopping by Jacques Talk. We'll see you next time.